everyone, hope you're doing well. We have another devlog for the next major update, and this time it's one of my favorites. The FV107 Scimitar is finally coming to Britain. It's going to be at rank 5 for Britain, and the best way of putting it is it's a tracked machine which is very similar to the Fox, at least in general firepower and also general playstyle. One of the things that I remember was talked about a lot over the last few years was, where are the British light vehicles? Why is it that you have to rely on the South African subtree to be able to actually play a bunch of light vehicles in the British tech tree? Well, now you can do either. There's the Fox, of course, the multiple Warriors, and now the Scimitar has come along to join the crew. It's a wonderful day and fantastic to see the vehicle. Hopefully you guys enjoy it too, and as always, if you enjoy the content as well, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the history of the FV107 Scimitar. The FV107 Scimitar dates back to 1967, when the CVRT Chassis was first designed to replace the Saladin armoured car. In addition to the FV101 Scorpion, the Scimitar was also designed by Alvis as a light reconnaissance tank with a 30mm automatic fire potential. The first prototype was shown in 1971 and accepted into service in 1973, with 486 of these vehicles being produced in total. Since 1974, the Scimitar has served in several conflicts, including the Falklands War, Gulf War, Iraq War, and also the war in Afghanistan. In 1982, during the Falklands War, the Blues and Royal Squadron operated the Scimitar and claimed to have shot down an Argentine Skyhawk with the 30mm autocannon. In the 1991 Gulf War, Scimitars engaged Iraqi T-62s firsthand. Over 300 Scimitars remained in service with the British Army until 2023, when it was phased out for the incoming Ajax. Some other operators include Belgium, with over 150 vehicles in use until 2004, and Latvia, with over 120 vehicles since 2014, still in service with them to this day. So the Scimitar is going to have a very similar playstyle to pretty much all of the other light British tanks. They can't really take on tanks frontally, but if you get on a flank and you hammer people from the sides, the gun will be able to annihilate stuff. It's actually a really fun playstyle to have, and even with a bunch of the maps getting a lot more, well, thin, let's say, there's still opportunities for stuff like the Scimitar to do a lot of damage, and also, because it's a light tank, it'll also be able to scout the enemy, which will be really nice too. The main armament on this vehicle is the 30mm L21A1 Radan cannon. This is the same one you find on the Fox, and also the same one you find on the standard Warrior. And if you've ever used the gun, it has a terrible fire rate, and also it has nowhere near the greatest punch against aircraft, but what it does have, surprisingly, specifically with its APDS round, is if you penetrate a ground target, it has a ridiculous amount of kind of cone of damage after penetration. This is what makes the Fox so deadly, and also makes stuff like the Warrior so deadly. The Warrior, of course, has the ATGM and the thermals, so you can engage from long range, but also that APDS on the Radan massively overperforms compared to a lot of other rounds around the place. This is probably why, unfortunately, they're going to be nerfing the Radan in the future, along with a lot of other autocannon APDS. They talked about that they were going to do this maybe a week or two ago. They haven't said what they're going to do with it, though, so we'll have to see when that comes in, and also when it will affect these vehicles. One of the parts that they did say, though, is it will be reducing the penetration of APDS from autocannons on flat and also angled. So if it comes in the next update, it may be a bit weird if you played the Fox beforehand and now play the Scimitar, because you'll be like, why is the Scimitar doing less damage than I remember in the Fox? Well, it'll be because of that change. So you have to be a little bit careful for that. The chassis that this is based on is a tracked chassis, which means that in certain scenarios, compared to the Fox, you will be a little bit quicker, but in most, you will be slower. This track chassis means that the vehicle is around 8 tons. It does have a top speed of 80 kilometers an hour, though. It can still fly around the place, which is great, and pretty much has a very similar setup to the FV102 Striker, which of course is the ATGM vehicle that is in the game for Britain. Hopefully at some point with this CVRT chassis, which has been in the game for a long time, we can see some of the other vehicles that have turned up. The Scorpion, of course, the big old potato launcher, is the one that I know a lot of people really look forward to. But there are a bunch of other ones as well. The Spartan, the Samaritan, the Sultan, the Samson, and even the Sabre. And of course, ones we already have, like the Stormer and the Striker. It's something that was a common chassis for many, and there's no reason why it can't be spread around, and be it multiple BRs with different weaponry for different British vehicles. And I'm sure a lot of people will be happy to see this thing. The fact is, the Fox has been a big hit in the game, even causing quite a lot of controversy because of how powerful it's been, and the Scimitar will be no different. This one should be slightly lower BR than the Fox, just because of that mobility stuff, but they might put it at the same BR because of the fact that the Fox was so powerful at launch. These smoke grenades will mean that you'll be able to reposition quite nicely, and also, it's not as if this chassis is slow, it's still very rapid around the place. Britain has a ton of really fun lineups nowadays, whether it is with stuff like the standard Centurions, whether it's even at 4.7 with the World War II vehicles, or even the Crusaders, which are at 2.7. Then you have the higher BRs, which are also pretty fun. And after some of the BR decompression, it's helped out a lot of the vehicles in those areas to be able to have a bit of fun with. The Scimitar should slot right into a bunch of lineups that are around there, and even if it doesn't, as long as it has one or two components along with it, and you obviously get a map where you are able to exploit the flanks of it, you'll have a fantastic time in this thing. It can solo carry games, but it also depends on what you fight. If you go up against a bunch of armor in the form of the Soviets or in the form of the Americans, it might be tough to do. But if you face something like the Germans at around 8.0, and they're just running Leopards and Marders and vehicles like that, this will be able to punch straight through them, and if you can't, you can always scout them and go forward. The optics should be nice on it, everything should be good to play, and it also, since it is a light tank, we'll get the scouting, we'll get the airstrike modification, so if you are a person who enjoys CAS, you'll be able to get into it much quicker with this vehicle. The light tanks of Britain have been given a lot of good vehicles in the last year. The Simi, of course, stuff like the Fox, and also the upgraded Warrior as well. And I think we're at a point now where there's not really a lot of people who can turn around and go, yeah, this isn't great, you know, this isn't fantastic. This is wonderful to see that Britain has a lot of its light tanks now, and hopefully it'll get more of them in the future. They obviously had to sort out the AAs, they also had to sort out many of the MBTs, but now it's the turn of the light tank, and if you played a lot of the light tanks in many of the different tech trees, at least for me, they are some of the funnest vehicles that you can play around the place. And to see people have fun with them, especially at the higher echelons with stuff like the Baglet Panzer, 2S38, the Puma of course, the Bradders, all of these vehicles, and the Scimitar joins that list of just exciting, fun, very mobile vehicle systems that are just great to wander around in. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecovo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.